And I have a theory. I have formulated a theory over why it took so long for Chicago to get a ballet company. And I have no empirical basis for this at all. But it's my theory that, in the 60s, when money was flowing and whatever, Chicago had one of the world's great art museums. It had one of the world's great orchestras since day one, both of those since day one, well over, going on to a century. It had an opera company that actually, after 10 predecessors rose and flamed out and rose and flamed out, was a world-class opera company, and the ballet companies were coming in. They were not at that level. Ballet is what that point was a 300-year-old art form. It needed, for a city like Chicago to embrace it, I think it needed to be done at the highest possible standard. And those companies, for all the usual reasons, couldn't do that. I mean, how can you, when you don't have vast pockets of money, how can you put together a world-class Swan Lake season after season after season and build an audience and whatever? But by the time Joffrey arrived here in 95, they were at a top level. Joffrey was one of the world's great ballet companies. They weren't doing the Swan Lakes and the whatever, but they were at the same level as the CSO and the. As I said, I have no idea whether that's true or not, but it seems to me that was what was playing out. And what would have solved that problem would have been some incredible force of nature in terms of a patron or an artist. I mean, you think of someone like Bertha Palmer, who was the beginning of the Art Institute, and somebody like Theodore Thomas, who was the beginning of the Chicago Symphony. But those things were founded by business people who wanted a first-class city, and at the end of the 19th century, to be a first-class city, you had to have an orchestra and you had to have an art museum. And so they put their money where their mouth was, and they went and bought the best. The world was an entirely different place in the 60s and 70s. So that's my theory. I'm sticking to it.